The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show. It's time to give a shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, then you'll love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. It takes place in 4 countries with 2 strangers and 1 target where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and is even loved by Hollywood celebrities including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today. Order Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, now available at Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Hollywood celebrities including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. Heard worldwide on Geo 7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. And follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, including t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, throw pillows, tote bags, and a lot more, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast for great gift ideas. And coming soon to the MikeWagnerShow.com. And for more great gift ideas, including t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, and a lot more, and great books by Mian Mohsen Zia, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mian Mohsen Zia store. Make sure you order today. And also, don't forget to support the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com and click on donate and be generous. Also, support us on Anchor FM/support and PayPal at the Mike Wagner Show. Make sure you do so today. We're here with a wonderful lady who's a veteran author for quite some time, and she's a wife, mother, and grandmother from Jackson, Mississippi, now in beautiful Memphis, Tennessee. And she was a co-director of the 2010 and 2013 Oxford, Mississippi, and creative nonfiction conferences, and also the 2011 director of Memphis Creative Nonfiction Workshop. So she's been pretty much a coordinator, a director, and everything in management when it comes to these conferences. And she's been a panelist for Decatur, Southern Mississippi, Louisiana Fest, and her writings involve mainly her own life and a lot more. And she's also got some books called Friends of the Library, Cherry Bomb, Tangles and Plaques, The Pulpwood Queens, and a lot more. And we're going to be talking about a brand new book, which is an insider's look to the various privileges. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in beautiful downtown Memphis, Tennessee, the very multi-talented author and of John and Mary Margaret, author Susan Cushman. Susan, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me.
What's great to have you on board, too. I mean, you've got amazing work, and I'm looking at all this. You've got Friends of the Library, Cherry Bomb, Tangles and Plaques. Cherry Bomb's not the John Cougar Mellencamp, if you guys are wondering. So also a second blooming, Southern Writers Writing, and also the Pulpwood Queens are all on Amazon and also a website. And you can talk more about that. And of course, you're a wonderful wife, mother, grandmother from Jackson, Mississippi, now in Memphis, Tennessee. You've been a co-director, director, coordinator, and everything in upper management in various conferences. And you've also been a panelist and a lot more. And we're here to talk about your wonderful book about insiders looking to the white privilege bubble and sorority life. And before we get into all that, tell us how it first got started, Susan.
Well, I guess junior high school,
Mm-hmm.
writing for a literary journal. High school, I wrote for the school newspaper
Okay.
and really thought I was going to be a journalist. I really thought I was going to be a reporter instead of doing feature and fiction.
Mhm.
I put it all off for a lot of years to be a stay-at-home mom. My husband had a busy career, and I felt like one of us needed to anchor things at the house. So during that time, I did some freelance writing. I did some newsletters and some freelance work over several decades.
Wow.
And in 2001, when our youngest child left for college, I thought, so it's 20 years ago, I
Mhm.
thought, okay, now it's my turn. As soon as I said those words, I got cancer.
Oh.
And fortunately, he was cured with surgery. It was just a big scare. Our oldest son joined the Army and went to Iraq and Afghanistan. So it's kind of like my world got shaken up right when I
Wow.
thought, okay, I'm going to settle down and do my late life career. So I put it off for a little bit. And then I painted for a bit. And then I started seriously writing. And I started with essays. Again, the creative nonfiction had been my background. And I started with essays, which I still love. I just had one published the other day.
Oh, nice.
But eventually I thought, I really want to write books. That's what I really want to do. And I spent about 6 years on my first novel. Now, that was fiction, Cherry Bomb. But it started as a memoir. And because there was so much personal information in it about me, including childhood sexual abuse, some alcoholism and abusive stuff in my family of origin and in my young adult life. And I decided I didn't want to go public with it all. So I used all those experiences to inform my first novel, Cherry Bomb, which is about a young girl who escapes from a religious cult, throws up graffiti as a cry for help, gets a scholarship to SCAD, the Southern College of Art and Design, studies under Elaine de Koenig, ends up going to Orthodox monasteries to learn about icons because I'm a convert to Orthodoxy and I painted icons and visited monasteries.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that whole novel had a whole lot of my life in it, but it was not a memoir. So while that was going on, my mother had Alzheimer's and I was going back and forth helping to take care of her. And I wrote 60 blog posts over an 8-year period about long distance caregiving for her. And some of my readers said, why don't you turn that into a book? So I did Tangles and Plaques, A Mother and Daughter Face Alzheimer's. And it was published in 2017, just about 6 months after my mother passed from Alzheimer's. That same year that Cherry Bomb and Tangles and Plaques came out, in 2017. Now keep in mind, I've waited 20 years to do this. I had a third book published by a third publisher, and it's an anthology I organized and edited called A Second Blooming, Becoming the Women We're Meant to Be. And it has essays by 20 different women authors. It has a foreword by Anne Lamott. was published by Mercer University Press. So 2017 was like a banner year with all these 3 different types of books coming out by 3 publishers.
Amazing.
That started this second late life career for me in 2017. And the anthology was so much fun and so much easier than writing a book because I'm real organized. And one of my favorite things to do is bring people together, bring talents together, and organize those people and their talents. Well, that's what an anthology is. So I thought, I'm going to do this again. So my second anthology is Southern Writers on Writing. And this time I invited 13 men and 13 women, all Southern authors, to contribute essays about writing. They're from 9 different states in the South.
Wow.
And University Press of Mississippi published that in 2018. So I thought, now that's a lot of fun. And then it kept going. I don't know if you want me to just keep going about my journey.
Absolutely. I'm enjoying this already. I'm enjoying this. Yes.
Okay,
oh, my
great.
gosh. In fact, I was ready to get on Amazon and start ordering right now, except I'm trying to get my phone to work. It's busy right now. Leave a message.
Well, I hope you buy them all.
I'm sure. if it lets me. Hey, Jeff Bezos, are you listening out there?
So as the journey continued, Cherry Bomb, my first novel, was published by a small press out of Jackson, Mississippi. And the publisher is from a small town there. And he knew people in the libraries in those small towns. So he said, I want you to take Cherry Bomb and I want you to visit the Friends of the Library groups in all these small towns in Mississippi. Well, I was from Jackson, Mississippi, and I went to college at Ole Miss in Oxford, but I had never been to Eupora and West Point and Aberdeen and Pontotoc and all these other places. And I was living in Memphis. It was going to be a lot of driving. I kind of had a bad attitude about his idea because I thought, you know, there are going to be 2 or 3 old people at each of these things, and they're not going to buy books, and it's going to be a waste of time. I was kind of pouty, but finally I changed my attitude and decided to go do it. So before I went to each town, I researched the town and went, oh, wow, what a fascinating history. Look at this famous blues museum where this started. Look at Pontotoc, where Jim Weatherly, Midnight Train to Georgia's from.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Look at this antebellum home here that's a famous museum. So each place I researched, I went and visited famous sites there. And then I also went to the library and spoke to the Friends of the Library groups. Well, I've been a big blogger since 2012. So my natural instinct was after each event was to go home and write a blog post about it. But somehow I had a different idea. And instead of writing a blog post, I thought, what if, these are my 2 favorite new words, what if I write short stories? And what if I create a fictional author and name her Adele Covington and have her go on this little book tour and meet these people who have all of these issues like childhood sexual abuse, Alzheimer's, homelessness, adoption, cancer. Each story deals with one of those issues that have all touched my life in some way. So when I put it together as a collection of short stories, it's called Friends of the Library. Published in 2019 by Kohler Books out of Virginia. So one of the stories in there that was the most popular that everybody said, make this into a novel, was a story about John and Mary Margaret. And John is a Black boy from Memphis. Mary Margaret is a white girl from Jackson. They fall in love on the Ole Miss campus, University of Mississippi, in 1966.
Oh, I was just going to ask you about that. When was it? Because nowadays it's acceptable, but the 60s, it was like, black, white coming together. It's just like, fighting forces. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was at Ole Miss in 69. My husband was there in 66 through 70. So I did a lot of research about what happened on campus, even though I'd been there, and I had a lot of early readers of the book who had been on the campus during those years because there were protests and riots and a lot of that went on. And the book covers 50 years of Civil rights history.
Civil rights, I was going to say.
Civil rights history
okay.
in Mississippi and Memphis, but the backstory of it is John and Mary Margaret's love story. So it's not an angry book. It really is a novel, but it has all these real historical events and cameos of real historical people.
Wow.
My favorite being Eudora Welty, the famous Mississippi author, she appears in 2 different chapters of the book, which I love to do. I did that in Friends of the Library, like having Jim Weatherly show up in the Pontotoc story, because that's where he was from. And it just adds a little human interest to the novel to have these real people pop in. So it's a lot of fun. So that just came out on June 4th. That's my 7th book and 2nd novel.
Wow.
Because I did another couple of anthologies in there along the way.
Okay.
I turned 70 in March, and my husband and I celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations. Happy anniversary.
Last June. So I'm really just I'm living my best life. I'm having a great time. I'm already started another novel, so I'm having a great time.
And it sounds like you're having a great time too. I was going to ask you more about the John and Mary Margaret book as well too. That is talking about having white privilege bubble and sorority life. What was that sorority life for her? Especially in the days in Mississippi in the 60s. What was it like? Especially meeting a Black person too. It's like being in a sorority.
Yeah, of course I have her go from Jackson, my hometown. She has a lot of me in her. And her mother, of course, wanted her to pledge Tri Delt, which was her sorority, which was my sorority. She expected her to pledge Tri Delt, get an education degree so she could teach school, marry a handsome white boy who was going to be a doctor or a lawyer, and come back to Jackson to live so that her grandchildren would be nearby. This is what all her mother wanted for her. But Mary Margaret loved literature more than anything. And her chance meeting with Eudora Welty in 1963, when she was only 14 years old, because they lived in the same neighborhood in Jackson, in the Belhaven neighborhood. I lived there in the 70s as a newlywed. And she met her in the parking lot of the local Jitney Jungle and helped her with her groceries and ended up going home with her. And Eudora Welty ends up talking with her about the race issues in Jackson and in Mississippi. Medgar Evers had just been assassinated. Eudora Welty's article in the New Yorker had just come out about that. So she's teaching Mary Margaret about all this, and Mary Margaret starts to have an awakening at age 14. She goes home and tries to discuss this with her mother. Her mother's in a different world and is not interested in pursuing any of that, and wants Mary Margaret to just hang out at the country club and have fun and date the right people. So she goes off to Ole Miss in her freshman year. She pledges the right sorority. She's doing all the right things. But in her English class, she meets John from Memphis. And they both love William Faulkner. They love literature. She feels like John's the smartest kid in the class, and asks him to come over to the sorority house and study with her, help her study for an upcoming exam on Faulkner. So there's a scene where he goes to the Dry Delt house and to meet with, to study with her in the lobby there. And one of her roommate happens to be coming in the front door and sees John at the front door and says, deliveries are around back.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And he says, I'm sorry, I'm here to study with Mary Margaret. And of course the roommate was just taken aback and said, oh, well, come in, I guess. So that's how it all starts, and it also includes, they have a date to a football game, and afterwards they don't have anywhere to go because there are no Black fraternities, and all of her Tri Delt sorority sisters are going to fraternity parties with their dates and boyfriends. So they don't have anywhere to go. So John takes her off campus to a blues club, and she's
nice.
the only white person there. And there's a band called the Checkmates, and they're playing When a Man Loves a Woman. And, I got all the music and all the cultural part of the era right, hopefully. And so she's introduced some to his world. But when they get back to the sorority house, he is accosted by some of the white boys who call him names and kick him and hit him and all of that. And he realizes pretty quickly that if they pursue this, it's going to really make her life difficult, as well as his own. I mean, he's there to study law, backing him up to Memphis. His father coached football at an all-Black high school. He grew up in Memphis in an all-Black neighborhood and schools. His older brother's a football star, going off to an all-Black college to play football on a scholarship, which is what his dad expected John to do. John was having none of that. He said, I want to go to the University of Mississippi, and this is just 3 years after James Meredith was the first Black allowed there. And no Blacks were allowed to play football there yet.
Oh, wow.
That happened a couple of years later. He says, I want to go there. I want to do pre-law and I want to do law school. I want to become a civil rights lawyer and a judge. These were all his
Interesting.
dreams. So he and Mary Margaret's lives intersect, but they're just not sure they're willing to make it work at that point. So they break up.
Mm-hmm.
So the next several decades, the book has chapters about what happens to each of them. And I don't want to give all of that away.
Right. That's understandable.
Yeah. And I also don't want to tell how, but they do find each other again.
Ah.
Some people have said it's kind of like the book and the movie, The Notebook, because Alzheimer's is also involved.
Oh,
which,
I see.
again, I bring in something from my own life to everything I write, and Alzheimer's is involved in the book, but it has a good ending. I'll just say that it has a good ending.
And of course, social media makes it more possible for people to come together. And I'm sure they got creative back in the day where it's like, they came together without social media. So
they did. They did. There's no social media. Now, the book does come on up to the year 2020. So it comes right on up. In fact, there is a scene that happens in the book. There was a group called Up With People. I don't know if you remember them.
I remember that. Yeah. Even in the 60s, being as a child and everything, I did remember it. And it was, they had albums. It was all over TVs and everything. And I think they were in like some halftime shows. I wasn't sure if it's like college games, Super Bowl, playoffs. Yes.
Like singing and dancing, and they were about diversity, and they were very positive. And they did a concert on the Ole Miss campus in February of 1970. And so John, the character of John, and some of his friends had started the Black Student Union, and were trying to do some things for racial equality on campus, and it wasn't working. Nothing they were doing was working. So they decided they were going to protest during this concert because there'd be a lot of people there. There would be some news media there. So about 60 Black students came into the concert, marched up the aisles toward the stage. A couple of them jumped up on the stage and grabbed the microphones and started talking about race issues and so forth. But then all the blue lights started, and the cops were there, and the highway patrolmen. 60 Black students were arrested, taken to 2 jails, and 8 of them were expelled from school. They became known as the Ole Miss 8.
Okay. I think I heard that story somewhere. Yeah. It was like, the Ole Miss 8 and the big thing about it. And I think that was in the news. And
absolutely. Lots of news. So that's February of 1970. 50 years later, last February of 2020, some people at Ole Miss organized a reunion for the Ole Miss 8. And so they were all invited back to campus. And one of them in particular was a woman, and she's fictionalized as Diana in my book, because she had all the credit she needed to graduate. But because she was doing this peaceful protest, she was denied her graduation.
Oh my gosh.
So at the reunion 50 years later, she's given her diploma 50 years late. It's amazing to me that these people even went there. So I write about that in the epilogue. So my fictional characters are based on, like John is based on 2 of the Ole Miss 8, kind of a conglomerate of them. One of whom, Dan Cole, had to finish his degree at another school, went back to Ole Miss to teach mathematics, where he just retired a year or 2 ago.
Wow, amazing.
And could have gone somewhere else. He had been treated so badly there, but his mission was to come back and make a difference. So I've combined these real people with the fictional characters, and I really want the book to make a difference.
It sounds like you did a great job of taking each person piece by piece and bit by bit and just intertwining together. Now, if John and Mary Margaret were to happen today, instead of 1970, instead of 2020, do you think this could have happened? Do you think it would have been easier, the same, or much more difficult? Do you think the outcome would have been better, or meh?
Oh, I'm sure that they would have been. I mean, they still might have gotten pushback. Depends on what their families were like, but I mean, there were only about 200 Black students on the entire campus 50 years ago, and interracial marriage was against the law. And in some states, even until the later 60s, and now, hopefully, I mean, I know at least 4 mixed race couples, including my daughter and son-in-law. My son-in-law's Black, and I have mixed race granddaughters. And actually, my daughter's Korean. She's adopted from South Korea.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
So, and part of what I meant, I dedicated the book to my granddaughters, saying that I hope the world will be a better place for you. So, last summer, COVID was going on and the protests were going on. And here in Memphis, there were some really excellent, peaceful protests. And had I not been 70 years old and had there not been COVID, I would have wanted to go join the protest. So I was talking to my husband about it and, how can I have a voice? How can I have a voice? And he looked at me like, duh, aren't you a writer? Why can't you write it? Write your story the way you want to. And that's part of my inspiration for turning that short story. See, the short story was really kind of like having a synopsis for the novel. Mm-hmm. So it made the writing of it. I wrote it in about 3 months.
Wow, amazing.
Last spring and summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and that is so amazing too. And of course, we'll talk a bit more about, what's coming up for Susan Cushman and more. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960 or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international war-winning author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Girls Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple Music. And make sure you take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas from me and Molson-Zia, go to Amazon.com and check out the Me and Molson-Zia store. Also support us on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the Mike Wagner Show. Make sure you give generously today. We're here with author Susan Cushman of John and Mary Margaret here on the Mike Wagner Show, just talking about an amazing book. It happened back in 1970 and, being such a voice in it too. And, before we talk about, kind of a follow-up or what's coming up as well too. And, we talked about the books and everything else. And, just going back, you started junior high, but what was that one precise moment that influenced you into what you're doing today?
Oh, wow. I don't know if I can say there's just one moment. I don't ever remember not wanting to be a writer. Mm-hmm. Again, I think the big thing was to decide not to do memoir, to decide to do fiction. And I think fiction's a lot harder to write, but it's more fun in some ways, so I don't know that there's one moment that clicked in. Other than, as I was mentioning, turning those visits to the small town libraries into short stories. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even a big short story fan. I didn't even read a lot of short stories until then. So suddenly, as I'm writing these short stories, I experienced something. I have a lot of author friends whose writing style is to just let the characters take on a life of their own, which I always thought sounded kind of Twilight Zone-ish.
I've heard something like that.
Yeah. And with Cherry Bomb, my novel, I outlined all 16 chapters before I wrote the first sentence. And wow. Because, characters aren't real people. They can't take on a life of their own. And yet, when I started writing these short stories, I experienced that for the first time. In each one, I had the town, so I had the setting, and I had one main character, and then I had the fictional author of Adele. And that's all I had in my mind. And I sat down and wrote the stories. And I had that happy experience of the characters taking on a life of their own. Mm-hmm. So it's a new way of writing. And someone asked me in an interview recently, which method am I going to do with my next book? Am I going to go back and outline like I did with Cherry Bomb? Or am I going to try this more loose, flexible way of writing like I did with Friends of the Library and John and Mary Margaret? And I've already decided I'm going to try to let the characters run with it. So I have the the setting and some of the characters in mind, and I've written half of a chapter. I've just barely begun. So I'm really excited about seeing if they really do speak to me and really do tell me what they want to do, because it's great fun when that happens. Writing can be so much hard work. One of my favorite quotes by an author about writing is Elizabeth Berg, who asked if she loved to write, and she said, "I love to have written."
Huh. That's interesting. I think I've heard that from somewhere, but you pretty much nailed it. That is so interesting.
Yeah, and that's how I've always felt is, oh, it's great to have written a scene, a page, a chapter, or a book, but the actual writing of it has always just been hard work. But with this new method, I think I'm actually loving to write. I'm thinking it's fun to write.
And it sounds like you're having a lot of fun too. And who are some of your favorite authors and writers, and of course, what are some favorite books growing up?
Growing up, this is always a shocker to people. I wasn't a big reader as a child for a couple of reasons. I don't have any memory of my parents reading to me, but I have a huge memory of being 5 years old and us getting our first television.
Oh, wow. Yes, I remember the big colored TVs. Yes.
It might have been black and white first. I don't even remember. Or
that too. Yes, I should say.
But I was glued to television for years. And then when I started liking to read, like late elementary school and early junior high, then I was at the library a lot, reading then. But then I kind of got away from it for a lot of years and then became a big reader again, really just 10 or 20 years ago. Pat Conroy is my favorite author. And I knew him personally, and I know Cassandra King, his wife, personally. And his book, The Prince of Tides, is my favorite book of all time. I like any books that deal with dysfunctional families, abuse and addiction. That sounds so dark, but they also have to have a lot of art and color that comes out of those issues. Flannery O'Connor wrote about dark stuff. And yet it's something very alive, and the human effort and plight is so alive in there. So I like people to write about that. I like memoirs. Mary Carr is my favorite memoirist. Haven Kimmel. On the spot, I'm having a hard time thinking about all the people that I like, but I tend to read Southern fiction and memoir about mental health. Those are kind of my two favorite areas to read in.
That sounds interesting too. And of course, this just popped in my head too, that what first inspired you to write John and Mary Margaret? What was that first instinct that inspired you to write it?
Well, the short story came first. And that was an instinct. It was just one of the libraries I visited. I had Adele meet a mixed race couple that came into the library, to the Friends of the Library group, and that was John and Mary Margaret. And she was fascinated by them. And she was there talking about her book, Tangles in Black, A Mother and Daughter. So she's talking about Alzheimer's, and this couple wants to talk to her more after the Friends of the Library meeting. So she goes home with them and finds out some of their journeys includes Alzheimer's. Wow. So that's when I turned that into the book, that was a key. That was a thing I wanted to be sure and follow in there, even though the main thing about the book has to do with a biracial relationship. But Alzheimer's is probably the secondary plot to it. And you won't know who has it for a while.
Right, exactly. Of course, we're not going to give away the book as well, too, as you mentioned. We respect that, but also, too, what do you want the readers to get out of the book, or what do you want them to come away with?
I want them to come away with being hopeful about our future. And in fact, I have a quote. I'm going to read a quote from the book, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I love quotes, and I would put quotes like at the beginning of each chapter.
My wife does that a lot with the her books, and put post-it notes. She's a writer too, and just post-it notes all over the place. I have to keep running over to Walmart and buying stacks of post-its. Feels like every day I do this.
Right. So in front of the epilogue, I have this quote from Martin Luther King Jr. I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word. And I have to believe that. And my book is about hope. It's not an angry book. Here's one more from William Faulkner. So here's two completely different men. Never be afraid to raise your voice for honesty and truth and compassion against injustice and lying and greed. If people all over the world would do this, it would change the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
those are my goals in the book, are to help people, also to help people who grew up perhaps the way I did, to have an awakening.
Mm-hmm.
A book I read last summer that I consider to be one of the most important books I have ever read was Caste by Isabel Wilkerson, Caste. And of course, she won the National Book Award 10 years earlier for her book about the Great Migration to Chicago. But in Caste, she takes the racial situation in America and writes about it, caste in India, and in Nazi Germany.
Oh, wow. I heard something about that, like classifications and very strict. I heard something about that one.
It's a master class, and I was reading it as I was finishing writing my book, and I was having one aha moment after another. Because I was raised in that privileged white bubble. I was unaware, like the concert I told you about where the protest happened. Mm-hmm. So I asked my husband when I read about that, I was researching for the book, and I said, didn't we go to that concert? He said, yeah. I said, well, I'm reading here in more than one source that 60 Black students protested and were arrested. He said, I don't remember that happening. There's no way we would have missed it. So here's what happened. I asked 5 or 6 other friends who had been at Ole Miss then, and finally about the 6 or 8 persons said the concert ran for 2 nights.
Wow.
So most of us had gone the first night and missed the protest. And I often wonder if I'd been there the second night when the protest happened, mm-hmm. would my awakening have started earlier? Would it have made an impression on me? I wonder how I would have felt about it.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. And of course, lastly, how can people, what can people do to, with the whole issue, like with racism, PTSD, Alzheimer's and everything? It's like, how can people help?
Well, about each of those issues, I'm sure in different ways, and I don't have an agenda with this book to tell people to vote a certain way, to protest or not. But certainly, if anything, it's inspire people that whatever you do, to be motivated by love. Mm-hmm. This is a love story. Yes. It's very motivated by love and acceptance, and tolerance. And how that plays out in each person's life is going to be a completely individual thing. Some people are going to be very involved. Some people are just going to be involved by changes in their own heart and the way they treat the people that are around them.
Mm-hmm. And that's very fascinating, too. It's just an amazing book. And where can we find John and Mary Margaret and your other books at?
Well, I always give a plug for all the independent booksellers because they are heroes of us writers. But of course, it's also available anywhere books are sold online. All of the online sellers have it too, anywhere.
That's fascinating as well, too. And we'll talk about what's coming up for author Susan Cushman in just 1 minute. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by our official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's of Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We'll be back with the amazing multi-talented author Susan Cushman after this timeout.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. It talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple, and more. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, where The Mike Wagner Show interviews great guests, cool conversation, lots of laughs, coffee, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today.
Hey, this is Ray Powers. And if there's one thing you can count on in these unpredictable times, it's that you're in good hands getting some great radio, courtesy of The Mike Wagner Show.
We're back with author Susan Cushman, wife, mother, and grandmother from Jackson, Mississippi, now in Memphis, Tennessee, here on The Mike Wagner Show. Talked about her latest book, John and Mary Margaret, and a plethora of books. And of course, we'll have to have you back in 2021 and beyond. I mean, you've been fascinating. And what can we expect from you in 2021 and beyond?
Oh, thanks. I've started a new novel, and I'm setting it in my favorite place on earth. So you're trying to think, where is that? Is it going to be Paris? Paris would run a close second. Or it's going to be Seaside Beach, Florida. So I live right here in Harbor Town on the Mississippi River in downtown Memphis. And my neighborhood here was established in 25 years ago. And it's based on Seaside, Florida, which was in the 70s. And it's a beautiful little beach community down there. And my family vacations down there. And I've spent writing retreats down there. Mm-hmm. And so I've decided to set this next book there. And so far, what I know is that there are going to be 4 main characters, 4 women who've been friends for decades, and who've taken their families there every summer and have bought summer homes there. So their husbands are retiring. They're all from Jackson, Mississippi. Their husbands are retiring. They're all going to move there permanently, and they're avid bridge players.
Wow.
So the working title is The Seaside Bridge Club. Well, that all sounds very sweet and kind of like a chick lit beach read, but what's the grit of it? One of them is going to develop, guess what? Alzheimer's.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
It's going to be about friendships and how they deal with that. And so it will have some depth to it. It won't be just a light, fluffy book. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about it. I'm getting started on it now. I don't know how long it'll take me to write it. I'm going to let my characters take me for a ride.
It sounds like you're going for a ride as well, too, which is amazing. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
My biggest influence?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. One person? I don't know if I have one person. Again, I said maybe Pat Conroy, partly because he took a dysfunctional family situation and wrote a plethora of books about it. Some mostly fiction, which is what I've done. Mm-hmm. Eventually, he wrote a memoir about his father, and eventually he reconciled with his father and forgave him. And and my mother was abusive to me and became sweet as Alzheimer's took over her brain. And so when I wrote Tangles and Plaques, I was long distance caregiving for her, and I was able to forgive her and reconcile with her while she still knew who I was. And she didn't know who I was the last 5 years. So in a way, I guess Pat Conroy has been, and his wife, Cassandra King, whose book, The Sunday Wife, was real influential to me and helped me want to write. So I guess as a husband and wife team, they're pretty much a huge influence in that way. And then my children, I have to say my children and my grandchildren, especially when it comes to John and Mary Margaret and this story about race. That's got to be my children and grandchildren.
Oh, that's so amazing. Very heartwarming. Love it. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
About what?
The best advice. Anybody, anything, or
not to be angry, or to use your anger in a positive way, and instead of in a negative and harmful way, to let your decisions that you make in life be determined by love and not by anger.
That is fantastic. Once again, author Susan Cushman and John and Mary Margaret here on the Mike Wagner Show. Susan, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on 2021 and beyond. Don't forget to keep in touch. Once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your books?
www.susancushman.com. Find everything in there.
That's fantastic. We're looking forward to that. Once again, Susan, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on 2021 and beyond. Don't forget to keep in touch, and you've been absolutely terrific.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.